ridiculous.
Well, here's the thing.
Maybe. Sometimes.
Tell me about this. I want to know more.
Oh, yeah. No.
Holy cow.
We've had a lot of fun.
So, Nicole, you have a thing you want to talk to us about?
Yeah, I do, because I'm not really sure how I feel about it.
All right.
So now this is in reference to my daughter's school, which I'm not going to name. Because I do have some respect for it.
Yeah.
But, so this past week, because it's been her first week back to school.
Yes.
They had like theme week, like Spirit Week they call it, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And every week they had to do something different or wear something different or, behave I don't know, whatever. It was just like, it was a Spirit Week, whatever. Kristen never participates in these things. She's just one of those kids, like, she's so Canadian. She's just like, no.
Is it a polite no?
Not a joiner.
Not a joiner. No, we don't do those things. Too much team kind of, stuff. So the theme of Spirit Week was ice. So, in terms of like, okay, cooling down.
All right.
It's hot, right? So it was called Ice Week. So the first day was, beach day. So cool off by wearing your beach wear.
Wearing a bikini to school.
Which some girls actually did, but we won't go there.
Oh my goodness.
It had a cover up, but you could see it underneath. Anyway, whatever, right?
Wow.
So then the second day was 90s day. I'm thinking like because of the song Ice Ice Baby or whatever, Vanilla Ice or something, right? So the kids all dressed up in 90s outfits. Super, super cute. Okay, so third day, it's starting to get a little kind of like, what? So the third day was fake an injury day.
What?
So the idea is that
you would need ice for like a sprained ankle.
So,
oh my gosh, that's weird.
So this is my issue. So like, injuries don't happen on purpose. We don't like to have injuries. Why would I fake an injury? I don't know. Maybe I'm just being like all humpy and grumpy about it and not being in the spirit of things. But then, so like initially I was like, I don't know. This is kind of weird. Like fake an injury. Like why do you want to walk around wearing a brace? Like that's just really not cool. And then Kristen tells me today that a girl in her English class came to school that day and she had used stage makeup to create a bullet hole in her forehead.
Oh my.
No.
Isn't that horrific?
Wow.
I'm like,
that's terrible.
That sounds like the kind of thing that would be frowned upon these days.
I was shocked when she told me that. Shocked. I'm like, how did she not get pulled into the office for that? Like, how did she not?
That is hard to imagine.
That is so, what do they call it now? Tone deaf? Like, oh my gosh.
Yes.
Right. Plus which, I don't think ice is going to help that.
No, don't think that's
so
gonna.
It's not fitting with the theme of the week.
No, that's going a little bit beyond.
So,
yikes.
Anyway, I'm like, what are these people thinking? So, okay, so you would agree that that's a little over the top, correct?
Yes. Well, I think more than a little.
Okay. That is quite inappropriate.
Yeah. I would think that's the kind of thing that gets you called into the counselor's office and...
Yeah. I was just appalled. But even just the whole injury, fake an injury day, it just didn't sit right with me. I don't know why.
Also, like, that's just a stretch. Like,
yeah.
If you couldn't think of enough things for your theme, then pick a different theme. Because that's silly.
It is.
Right. And injuries are not funny.
No, they're not.
They're not a joke.
They're not. Like, kids were, walking around with braces and, I don't know. It was just weird. It was just a really weird thing. And sometimes that school does that. And I just kind of think, how on earth do you get away with that? Like, that is just not cool. Anyway, I just had to throw it out there.
And puts a lot of pressure on kids who maybe don't have somebody who can help them figure stuff out like that. And I don't know, does everybody just have access to
braces
costume
and
things?
Crutches and
right? Like, well,
or
one girl, Krista knows, did not have access to any kind of braces or whatnot. So she asked her friend to give her a hickey.
But then it's not a fake injury.
That's right. That's a real.
I don't know. Kids these days.
Come on.
Can I just say that? Kids these days.
I think the most we had at our school was like pajama day is about as crazy as it got. Crazy sock day, you know?
Yeah, totally.
More innocent times.
I know. It's like, where are these?
At my
That's
daughter's school,
ridiculous.
so they do have those kind of spirit weeks, like for homecoming, they usually have it. And for homecoming week, the seniors have a whole different set of themes than everybody else. I mean, that they're not. I don't even think they're related in any way. And then on top of that, they have dress up themes for every home football game.
Right.
Wow.
So they all have to come up with whatever Hawaiian shirts or who knows, different colors or for
wow.
Yeah. So.
Well, I know with our first football game, home football game, the seniors have to dress up in togas.
Oh, wow.
So you can imagine how that goes with this school.
Right.
If they're giving out hickeys,
What is
you can imagine
is like,
what the togas are like.
who makes these decisions on these things? Is it the kids, like the student council or something? Or is there some administrator who...
Well, you'd think that they would have to get sign-off from someone.
You would think.
Yeah.
Those are... That's kind of elaborate.
Yeah, so Kristen did not participate in Fake and Injury Day.
Good girl.
And I think, the other one, okay, this is kind of gross, but I just have to throw this out there. I don't know what you guys think of it or not, but the other event that they had this week was like, I don't know, it was something like a 20-foot long ice cream sundae, and the kids came at lunch to eat out of it. It was like a trough, and it had like this ice cream and whipped cream and stuff, and then the spoons, and I just was like, imagining.
And they were all eating out of, multiple people were eating out of it?
Like any kid in the school could come up and eat out of it.
Wow.
Yeah. Like, you said that was okay.
That's a bad idea on so many levels.
Like, so many levels. Who thought that was a good idea?
Yeah, it sounds like the students are in charge of these events because they don't seem like they've been very well vetted.
I know, right? I just was like, Kristen, please tell me you didn't go. She's like, no, we thought it was gross. Forget that.
That's disgusting.
Like, I taught you well. Anyway.
This is the same girl who swabbed down her entire airplane seat.
Exactly. Yes, this is.
Including
she
the
ate
walls.
sharing ice cream with
So she wasn't going to eat out of a giant communal trough.
No. Not this one. Yes, let's not forget she did swab down the walls of the airplane. She was not
smart girl.
Yeah, she carries handy wipes wherever she goes. My poor daughter. Wait till she gets to college.
Wow. I think people are getting lightheaded with the heat there, Nicole, for some of these ideas.
Like, I just said to Peter, like, thank God this is our last year at that school. I'm just so over it. Anyway, something I'm not over, though, is our weekly podcasts.
Yes.
Yeah.
I still enjoy talking to you every week, so let's do it.
Yes.
Let's get it started.
Let's do it.
Okay, so hopefully I won't cough through this, so please bear with me. Hello and welcome to Parenting Roundabout, a weekly podcast about the things that parents are talking about, obsessing about, and complaining about right now. I'm Nicole Eridix, and with me today are Catherine Haleko.
Hello.
And Terri Morrow.
Hi there.
Today on the podcast, we are going to talk about childhood memories on our speed round, shout out some stuff we like on the Roundabout Roundup, and do some shameless self-promotion. But first, we have found a way to complain about the timing of our own births and our kids. Because, you know, we're good at finding ways to complain.
That's right.
So,
that's what we do.
Catherine, do you want to explain that a little bit more?
Yes. So our question today is, what is something that parents today have that you wish you had when your kids were little? And then the flip side, something your parents had that you didn't get to have too. So you were born too early for some things and you were born too late for other things. So Terri, will you start with something that parents today have that you wish you had?
Yeah. I think I've said before that I really envy parents the electronic devices that everybody clucks over. How I wish I had had access to that stuff when my kids are little. You know, to be able to watch a TV show while you're sitting in a restaurant waiting, or play a game, or do something. That was... I mean, we had computers when my kids were little, but we didn't have that sort of thing. I remember I had Alpha Smarts for them. Do you guys remember Alpha Smarts, Nicole? You must have had them like in schools or something like that.
Yes.
Yes, it was like a keyboard with a little strip where you could see what you typed. And I thought that was just the most amazing thing when my kids were kind of not interested. But if they had like iPads that they could have watched their cartoons on, oh my goodness, my life would have been so much easier. And that's probably a bad thing to say because we're supposed to, you know, not approve of kids and screens. But wow, what screens have come in handy in, you know, cars, on car trips, or in restaurants, or in waiting rooms, or just so very many. I wish I became a parent too early for those things. Yes.
I say that too.
But I am so jealous.
I understand.
How about you, Nicole? What are you looking at younger parents today and saying, oh, you're so lucky?
Oh, like everything. Every like product that's out there. It's like, dang, why didn't I have that? I mean, just, you know, the ease of the strollers and the, you know, the strollers with the platforms for the toddler and the, you know, those little cloth inserts that you can put in the cart when you grocery shop. You can put your little baby in and they don't roll around. And do you know what I mean? That, that little, I don't even know what they call it. And the baby formula makers and bottle cleaners, like just about... Yeah, it's just so much, and I just look at it and go, wow, I'm so jealous. I wish we had that stuff. That would have made life so much easier. You know, even the video cameras for when the babies are sleeping. Like,
the video monitor.
Yeah, like that would have been really nice to have. I would have liked to have used that because my kids' bedrooms were on the second floor, and we spent a lot of time on the first floor, and, you know, nap times and such.
Yeah.
Would have been nice to have that. Or the little blankie that, I don't know, they put underneath the child, and it tells the parent that the child's rolled over or something, you know, in those first few days of parenting when you're all anxious about your kid rolling and sleeping on their back or side or whatever it is supposed to be these days.
Yeah.
Yeah, so many things.
Really?
Even the car seats. And it's just, I feel like it's just so much easier for parents.
It does seem. I'm just thinking about how many more photos I would have of my children and how many more videos I would have of my children if I could have done it with a phone instead of a camera and a video camera.
Exactly.
Just to have it with you all the time. Super easy. Just snap something or take a video.
Yeah.
And not have to go through some special software to take the video you did on the video camera and make it into something. Gads.
Yeah.
That would have been so easy.
And have a way to share it quickly and easily, too. You know?
Yeah.
So easy.
Yeah.
I mean, we complain about them sharing too much on social media, but still, how cool is it to have that stuff so easily taken and so easily shared?
Yeah. Or even the, you know, when I was pregnant, like the 3D ultrasounds, like they were not available when I was, when I had my kids. You know, there's just all these, you know, and the cute little baby announcements and the, I don't know, it's just all this.
Yeah, like for me, one of them is all the like wraps and things that you can wrap up your baby in and carry them around. Because I had like the Bjorn, like the front pack thing, and I had the like a sling, but I never ever got it to work. Like it was completely completely impossible. But now they have all these like 20 different ways that, you know, there's got to be one that will work for you, your body and your baby, and I don't know, just seems
Yeah. Is there anything else you wish you had, Catherine?
Well, now that you said about like having the phone camera like that,
Yes.
that I've probably had for the last, I don't know, 5-6 years or something. So I got partly, but not when my kids were real babies.
Great to have it then.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just the ease of, you know, reviewing it and saving it and sharing it and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And yeah, like the strollers and...
I know, they're so fancy.
I was just thinking about how much, if I had had a minivan back when my kids were little, how much easier it would have been to take the stroller out of the back. So we had one of those huge two kid strollers that had to be removed and unfolded, and taking it out of a trunk and having to lift it up to get it out. I mean, I could have just rolled that, just put that sucker in the back, all put together in the back of the minivan, and then just rolled it right out. That would have been cool.
Well, even some of the vehicles now that are so kid-friendly, right? That with the nooks and crannies and the TV in the back seat.
The cars that come with a vacuum cleaner? Have you seen this?
What? No.
You know, like, do you know what central vacuum is for a house? There are some cars that have that.
Oh, wow.
No.
It's true.
Oh, my goodness.
You just have to empty it out every now and then.
Yep.
Now, all I need to add to that is a suitable, appropriate, accessible place for women to put their handbag or their purse.
Yes.
And they're good to go. It'd be the perfect vehicle.
Yeah.
You're
the perfect
very
vehicle.
right.
Once my kids started sitting in the front seat, I was like, what am I supposed to do with this now? I have no place for this bag.
Yeah.
And you're going to have to either keep it on your lap, in which case they're going to like dig through it, and who knows what's going to happen next.
Steal your snack
Steal
bars.
my candy and my snacks. Or I make them put it on the floor next to them. And then they have a backpack and a whatever, and they whine about it.
And then they're stepping all over it.
You're right.
I know, right? Like, that's been my biggest
on
complaint.
this, car
is that,
makers.
Really?
like, who's designing these cars? Obviously men, because there is no space for you to put your handbag. And, you know, I mean, most women have a handbag or a backpack or something, right? Especially when you have kids.
Yeah. And you want to have access to it. You don't want it to be, like, stuck in the back.
Right. And you
Mine usually rides in the back seat.
And I don't like having to make a separate, you know, like, have to open the hatchback if I don't have to. You know, if I have to store it back there. And then it's like, oh, now I have to go walk around in the back, blah, blah.
Such a nuisance.
So inconvenient.
Well, how about something our parents had that we didn't get the privilege of having, and we wish we did? Nicole, do you have something that you've thought of?
Dang, not really.
We're talking specifically about parenting things, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Boy, I don't know. Like,
I was thinking of it. You know, Terri just said how she's sad that she didn't have, you know, iPads and iPhones and stuff when her kids were little. But I do think that in many ways it was easier on my parents or parents of our generation to not have to deal with all the screens, and, you know, you just had a landline and you had a TV that got 4 channels, and, you know,
well,
that's true.
They kicked us outside and said, don't come home
and like
for dinner.
that neighborhoodiness where you could just send them out, and
I would have. Yeah, I feel like I wish that I had that, and I don't know if it's just that we're not in the right neighborhood and that still exists, or if it has to do with my particular kids. I mean, I was thinking about this and thinking how nice it would be for my kids to have what I had when I was growing up, where we just went around to each other's houses. We were running around the neighborhood. And then I remembered that one of the friends I would play with had a sister who had Down syndrome who was in an institution, because that's what you did with them then.
Yeah, me too. Yeah,
so, you know, then again, if it was back in those days, things would have been very different for us. So they might even then not have had those things. So I guess that's something I'm glad has changed. But there was certainly, like you're saying with the limited TV and the limited options of things to do, that was kind of nice, the simplicity of it. And also, I think about, this isn't specifically parenting, but it seemed to me like my mom had more real life social outlets than I feel like I do. Yeah. I mean, she was in the church group. She had woman friends she played bridge with. Her and my dad played bridge. Her and my dad went square dancing. They had this other group of friends that they would see. They had a real social life that I feel like parents today really generally don't have, for reasons I'm not really clear on. Maybe it's just me and my husband are antisocial and really don't want to be with people. But it does seem like some of those avenues have closed off, right? That people have gotten much more involved with their kids and therefore less involved as a couple in the community and as individuals in the community.
I think they're hanging out with their kids' friends' parents or their kids' teammates' parents or whatever, instead of having separate groups of friends and activities and outings with them.
I was just going to say that there is something that I think I would have enjoyed, and that would have been the afternoon happy hour that you would have with your neighbor. Where they, you often see pictures that, or, you hear about, because your kids were out playing all day. So you had time to visit with your neighbors and your friends. And you weren't doing all that running around to different places and sports and activities that we do now.
Right.
I definitely would have been one of those moms that would have been at the kitchen table with my martini glass.
Well, and that's the thing that our parents had too, was like
alcohol,
a dinner hour. Well, besides alcohol, like a dinner hour where you didn't have kids' practices and activities that were always at dinner time.
Yeah.
They are.
And I mean, my mom also didn't work, so some of her bridge playing and church group going was happening during the day while I was in school, which is something that most people don't have these days.
Right.
The luxury of.
Yeah, I feel like
I don't know.
The opportunities to socialize are just, until you get into a certain age, I think, like now I find that we're socializing more because our kids are older. And But
now I have no more friends.
But now I have no more friends, exactly. I don't know anybody anymore because they've all, kids are grown. We don't have anything really, don't see them as much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well,
it's
something to ponder.
It is.
There is actually a community.
Deep thoughts on today's podcast.
There's actually, I was reading about it. There's actually a community somewhere in the U.S., I don't know where they do live like they are in the 50s.
Really?
Yeah. They're everything from their furniture, their house, the accessories, their clothes they wear, things that they have in their house, the way
that takes a level of commitment most people do not have.
That's
exactly
right. Yeah. Well, speaking of going back that far,
back in time,
for our speed round today, we thought we would talk about our earliest memories. This is an interesting subject in our house because I have two kids who I wasn't there in their earliest days, but they don't remember anything before me. It's like once this huge transition in their life is sort of what sparked. They say that you don't generally store memories until you have speech, or sometimes it's the first big transition in your life that you have a memory of.
Right.
And there's whole years of babyhood and toddlerhood that just never makes it to the memory. So I always looked forward to when my kids could talk so that they could tell me what it was like in the orphanage, and they have no memory other than the things they tell me are things that I told them.
Yeah.
So it's kind of sad. But I think my first real memory that is not something that somebody told me was of throwing up in the back seat of the car on the way to nursery school one day. I guess that was
traumatic.
A traumatic experience. I don't know why. That is the thing that kicked off the memory, but I think I had chicken pox or something like that. And threw up in somebody's car.
Oh, it wasn't even your
Wow.
own. It wasn't even your own car.
It wasn't even our own car. No, it was somebody else was taking us to nurse. A bunch of us to nursing school. Yeah. I'm sure that person probably had a hard time forgetting too. Do you guys have somewhat more pleasant memories? Catherine, what's your earliest memory?
Mine, and like you said, I'm not positive that this isn't something that someone told me, but I feel like I remember, and it's a visual memory, so I feel like that's not something someone could tell me. I was 3 and going on 4 years old, and my sister was born. My little sister was born, and I remember coming home from, probably nursery school or wherever I was, and they said, "Oh, the baby is in the bedroom. You can go see her." And going in, and like a white crib sheet and a baby with tons and tons of black hair, which is a true thing.
Wow.
That is what her hair. I mean, she had tons. She had lots and lots and lots of hair. So I feel like I remember that, and I don't know if it really happened or not, but that feels like my.
That sounds like the sort of thing that would be a first memory.
I mean, it's a big
transition
deal,
in your
right?
life.
When you get you have a new sibling. I mean, of course, I already had a brother, but I was only, he was younger.
Who cares about him?
I was younger when he was born, So, I was more like impactful. 2 when he was born. So that I don't remember.
How about you, Nicole? What's kicked off your memories?
Well, a lot of them started around the time, like I remember a lot of events around the time I was 3 and 4. And when I was that age, we were living in the Fiji Islands.
Oh, wow.
And my dad was a geologist down there. And so I have a lot of memories from that time in my life. And one of the ones that stand out was that, like Terri, I was going to preschool and we were driving in another lady's car. But the funny thing was that she never started her car with her keys. She couldn't, for some reason, the car did not need keys to start. She started it with a fork. So I just remember sitting maybe in the front seat or the back seat, like
Where
5
did
of
the
us.
fork go exactly?
Like
crammed
in where a key would go, the fork.
Yeah, in the ignition. And I would just remember her sticking the fork in the ignition, and then off to preschool we'd go.
That is memorable.
Yeah. Then I think I had another throwing up memory too at one point, and there was a few of them. It was an eventful time in my life.
Yeah.
Living in Fiji.
Wow.
So so she had a fork.
Well, and right after my sister was born, that's when we went to live in England, if you remember my story about us all being in the airport.
Right.
And so I do have a few very vague memories of that, but I think a lot of those are more like from having seen pictures and things. I don't know how real they are.
Wow.
I've asked my kids what their first memories are.
Yeah.
I've never asked them that.
Yeah, that's a good question to ask them.
Yeah.
I wonder what they would say.
Well, we hope that you listeners will always remember that you can hear a new speed round every Wednesday through Friday.
Right.
Hi, we hope you're enjoying this episode of Parenting Roundabout. We're not one of those podcasts that's trying to sell you websites or mattresses or meal kits. I mean, we totally would, but no one's asked us yet.
There is, however, something you can do that costs you nothing, but will put a little change in our pockets. Listen to our podcast on the Radio Public app. Download the app to your iPhone or Android device and listen to Parenting Roundabout there, and we'll get paid for each listen. Plus a little more if you listen a lot.
We think you'll enjoy listening to all your podcasts on this app, but if you could at least listen to Parenting Roundabout there, we'd be very grateful. Now, back to the episode.
So now we bring you some things that we've read or seen or used recently that we want to shout out and share with you. Terri, Catherine, who's
I'll go
going first? Okay.
I've actually been reading, sort of. I've been listening to books. I think I mentioned here a few weeks ago that I started on Audible, so I've been listening to books there. And I've also been through a library app getting audiobooks through our library system. A very small selection, but every now and then one that looks interesting comes by. So I thought I would share the title of a couple of things I've been enjoying. The one book that I actually listened to the whole thing of is called When Breath Becomes Air by Paul Kalanithi. It's about a doctor who gets lung cancer and actually passes away before the end of the book. His wife sort of finishes it. But he talks a lot about his medical school and how he got to where he was, and then how the process of going from being a doctor to being a patient, and how that changed some of his thoughts on things. Very, very well written and well narrated by Sunil Malhotra. It sounds like a real downer, but it has some inspirational aspects, and it's just a really interesting story of somebody's life that ends sooner than it should have, but is still full of, definitely worth listening to if you have the opportunity, or, actually picking up and putting your eyes on words, as one does. And then on Audible, I've started listening to a book called Maisie, Dobbs, which I guess is the first in a series of detective stories starring this young woman. And I had never heard of the series. I had never heard of any of it, but Audible was giving away this first book in the series for free last week, so I took it and I'm really enjoying it. It's a good story, and just very much enjoying the narrator. The author is Jacqueline Winspear, and the narrator is Rita Barrington, who is just having so much fun with all the different accents. It's so fun to listen to. It takes place in England, so it's all a very wide variety of British accents, and so far one American accent, which she was a little weaker on, but all the different classes, and it's really, really been enjoyable listening to. I haven't listened to the whole thing, but I'm getting towards the end, so I can recommend 2 books. How about that? Hey,
that's cool.
Look at me,
awesome,
being all readerly, sort of. Listenery. What do you call it? Can you still call it reading if you're listening to it? Being all book consuming.
Yes.
There you go.
That makes sense. How about you, Catherine? What are you sharing this week?
Well, I think we touched on this previously in a previous episode, but for my son's school supplies this year, I was able to use the service called School Toolbox, where I could go onto their site and search for my son's school and plug in his grade level, and they had a curated box
best thing ever
of school supplies.
Nice.
Everything that the teachers said that the kids would need was all in this box. And you could also add on, they had a few extras that, if you needed a calculator or something that, something extra that you didn't have, you could still add that. And it was like $25 or $26, which I thought was a good deal, and it came in the mail, and we are ready to go.
Nice.
So, the service is called School Toolbox.
Love it.
And obviously it only works if your kid's school is participating, but I just thought I'd mention it.
Yeah, best thing ever. We used to have that for my kids' schools back in the day.
Nice.
So this week I was perusing the internet.
As one does.
And I had time to waste. So I came across this site, and oh my God, it is hilarious. It is called The Salty Waitress. And the description of it is an advice column from a real-life waitress that will teach you how not to behave like a garbage person while dining out, and maybe in real life. So she's got this column called Ask the Salty Waitress. And these questions, they just, it's awesome. So you can go through and learn how to behave like a proper person in a restaurant. For example, what can I do about these jerks at the table next to me? You could ask her that, and she has an answer for it. Or how do I fix an awkward situation between grandma and the server? Which I've had. Or what to do if the live band ruins your dinner. So it's a very tongue-in-cheek kind of a site, but it's fun. It's definitely got lots of fun little excerpts and articles and from this apparently salty waitress who teaches people how to behave in restaurants. So
nice.
Yes. So
that's like a good idea.
Good. Well, now for our final segment, we will do a little shameless self-promotion and direct you to some things on our sites that we think you should take a look at. Terri, what do you have going this week?
Well, I am still trying my blog post a week program, pressured by having mentioned it here. So there should be a new post up on my blog, Parenting Isn't Pretty, on Monday. Last week, there was a new post up on Monday. It was pretty late on Monday because halfway through the day, I did in fact say, oh my gosh, I mentioned on the podcast that there would be a new blog post. I gotta put something up. So it wasn't the lengthiest post, but
it
did share
still
a little
counts.
bit of good place wisdom. It still counts. So look there sometime next Monday for something new.
Good.
Of some either depth and wisdom or hurried, scattered thoughts. But something new.
Something will be there. And if you're listening to this after Monday, then it'll totally be there.
It will totally be there unless I don't remember until Tuesday. At whatever point I remember that I forgot, something will go up there.
How about you, Nicole? What do you have to share?
Well, I actually wrote something on my blog this week, too.
Wow.
Shock of shocks. And it was just something that was inspired by my weekend wisdom event with understood.org last weekend.
Oh, yeah.
So I was asked about some of the misconceptions about inclusion and some of those, ideas that people had about inclusion that are wrong. So I wrote 3 big misconceptions about inclusion, and that's on my website, theinclusiveclass.com. And
nice.
You're like the salty teacher.
Yes. The salty inclusion teacher.
The salty inclusion teacher has some comments for you all.
That's exactly it. That's my next book. The salty inclusion
Hey, maybe that'll be
teacher.
my blog post.
There you go.
Maybe I could be the salty parent.
The salty parent. Yeah.
Do it.
And have been
Yeah.
so many times.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
Well, I don't have anything new to mention just yet. So I will use my time to promote the podcast and tell you if you're listening and you haven't reviewed or rated us on iTunes, maybe you could do that. It'd just take a second.
Awesome.
And it would be so nice and so appreciated.
Yes, definitely. Well, that's it for this week's episode of Parenting Roundabout. We hope you enjoyed it and that you'll join us every week. You can listen to podcast episodes on Radio Public or download them from Apple Podcasts. Please subscribe so that you get all of our podcasts and mini podcasts.
You can also follow us on Twitter, where I am at Nicole Erdix, Catherine is at C. Haleko, and Terri is at Momitude. You can also follow the podcast on Twitter at Roundabout Chat and look for us on Facebook, Pinterest, Tumblr, YouTube, and Instagram too.
Best of all, stop by our podcast page at parentingroundabout.com and read recaps, find links on everything we've mentioned, and talk back in the comments. Thanks to John Morin at johnjmorin.com for providing our in and out music. And I wish everyone a great week.